Nottingham Forest joined Bournemouth and Fulham in the Premier League, but who has the best chance of staying there? Obvious congratulations to our three promoted teams, but now the hard work really starts. Fulham have had a bit of a preparation advantage here as they were confirmed as going up all the way back on April the 19th. Bournemouth joined them a couple of weeks later on May the 3rd, and Forest had the shortest window to work in, having just gone up this past weekend on May the 29th. As you can imagine, the very basic stats over the past 5 seasons tell us what most of us frankly already know. It's very hard to stay in the Premier League after promotion. Of the past 15 teams promoted to the Premier League, 7 were relegated in the first season. That is 47%. Of the remaining 8, 2 went down in season 2. So the chances do drop there to 25%. All of the 4 teams to get to year 3 in the past 5 years are still in the Premier League. So can Fulham, Bournemouth and Forest learn from them? Well, yes and no. 3 of these clubs are what I call traditional big clubs, them being Villa, Newcastle and Leeds. Maybe size does matter in terms of survival, but that doesn't happen quickly and it can't really be learned. The real inspiration in the past 5 years surely has to be Brighton, not a traditional Premier League name or really a traditional big club in English football, but very forward thinking with their recruitment and with their pattern of play. And I'm sure Forest fans will be reminding us in the comments that Brighton fired Krissy and brought in someone who'd been at Swansea. Where have we heard that before? What does seem apparent is that the teams that tend to bounce between the Premier League and the Championship do tend to continue bouncing. The 7 examples of straight back down seasons in the past 5 years, Fulham fans won't need reminding. It's been them twice, Norwich twice, Cardiff, West Brom and Watford. On the flip side of that, teams that haven't really been there before or for a long while, like Brentford, Leeds, Sheffield United, Wolves, Huddersfield and Brighton, all got themselves past that difficult first season. Maybe suggesting that this sort of freshness and lack of Premier League PTSD, for want of a better term, might actually help. We're going to get into the managers, squads and oppositions very soon, but do us a huge favour first and hit the like button to support the video and the channel. The 3 newest Premier League managers, well, 2 of them aren't really new. Marco Silva and Scott Parker have been there before, but Steve Cooper will be taking on his first season as a Premier League boss. Marco Silva of Fulham certainly comes out on top in terms of Premier League experience. In his half a season at Hull, they were the 14th best team in the league, but couldn't claw back the head start they'd given everyone in the first half of the season, were ultimately relegated. Silva also left Watford in 10th place, 24 games into his half season there. Bit of a murky situation though with Everton, where he did actually end up next season. Silva led Everton to 8th in his one full season, but was fired the following December with the Toffees in 18th spot. Bit up and down, I know, but certainly the highest calibre work of any of the managers coming up. Scott Parker is still very much in the jury's out category with the wider footballing world, either fairly or unfairly. The perceived wisdom is the fact that his 2 championship promotions were done at parachute clubs is then offset by his poor Premier League record. His 10 games as caretaker boss at the end of 2018-19 had Fulham 18th, and the full season in 2021 as Fulham boss saw them relegated also in 18th spot. That narrative around Parker though will immediately change. All he's got to do is get Bournemouth 1 place above that line this season. Steve Cooper will be seen as the bright new thing in management. I know that will irk a lot of people who've been following him for years with the England representative teams and 3 years down in the Championship. But unfortunately, there's a certain view of football that says if it didn't happen in the Premier League, then it didn't happen at all. But look, we have no evidence of Cooper working at the top level. Completely clean slate, but nothing to compare in terms of Parker and Silva, who have been there before. At Championship level, Cooper has won a hell of a lot of games of football, and his points per game has improved as he's gone along. 1.52 in season 1 with Swansea, up to 1.73 in season 2 with Swansea, and the magical 2 points per game in his 38 games in charge with Forest this year. Yes, of course, Parker and Silva also have brilliant championship points per games too, but it's the unknown, and Cooper is on very much of an upward trend in his career path, which we can't necessarily say about the other two bosses. In terms of squads and players, there is understandably a lot of work for all three clubs to do here. Fulham's star men last season, Mitrovic and Wilson, will want to shut down this persisting idea that they're not cut out for the very top level. Adrabio at centre-half looks like he's ready for a shot. Maybe Robinson at left-back too. There certainly does need to be a few first-team ready players to come in. Not squad padding, but people who are ready to go and improve in a team that did very well in the Championship. Hopefully relations are still good with Liverpool, because I'm sure Fulham fans would love to see Fabio Carvalho and Neco Williams back on some kind of loan deals next season. Bournemouth have the likes of Lerma, Billing and Solanke, who will probably be ready to go at the top level. I'd like to see the three youngsters who burst onto the scene this season, Travers, Zamura and Anthony, get their chance, although that might likely be a bit of a ruthless sink or swim exercise, and hope that the cream rises there. You're then looking at a few signings. Yes, they probably need a few in that first team. And then sort of the likes of Kelly, Krissy and Stacey to step up. They've done well in the Championship. Can they prove themselves at the top level? Forest is a little bit of a tricky one because of the loan players that were key to their success this season. There are a few parallels with Aston Villa in 2018-19, who were promoted with Mings, Tuanzebe and Abraham, all important players, and therefore even standing still and matching your Championship team in the Premier League starts to become expensive. In terms of players that Forest own, I'd like to see a few of the keeper and the back three get a chance, although I think there might be some strengthening going on there, perhaps at centre-half. Brennan Johnson will surely shine. That seems to be a bit of a home run. Ryan Yates deserves a crack, but again, we might be in sink or swim territory there with him. The loanees, Spence, Garner, Zinkernagel, Davis and Lowe, I've said them in that order for a reason, would all fetch a pretty penny. I reckon at least two of them will get signed permanently. And then there's the opposition. All three promoted teams will be hoping that 1, 2, or in an absolute dream world, 3 clubs will fall below the standards they set this season and down into that bottom 3. There's a few moving parts that Leeds will have to competently navigate next season. They were one place above the line last time out. They've got a new-ish manager, could be without Calvin Phillips and Rafinha next season, if you believe the transfer rumours we've been hearing for a while. Everton could get very, very interesting if FFP problems translate into some kind of points deduction. Going back to late December, only 2 teams scored fewer points than Southampton as well, so keep an eye on them. And Brentford fans won't thank me for saying it after their excellent first season, but Huddersfield, Sheffield United and Leeds all had big drops in season 2. So let's try and end on a positive for each of these clubs here. Fulham have had the most time to prepare and they've got the most experienced manager. Bournemouth have retained some Premier League quality since they were last up and have plenty of years of survival experience at the club. Forest have that momentum and a freshness that quite a few of our year 1 survivors have managed to trade on in their first season up. Get involved down there in the comments and let me know what you think the fate of the 3 promoted teams is likely to be, and what would you do in order to best ensure survival in their first season in the Premier League. And if you want some more promotion content, why not click right here where you can see my trip to Wembley for the playoff final to see how it was that Nottingham Forest finally joined Bournemouth and Fulham up in the Premier League.